Imagine that everything you thought was real was actually part of a big secret plan. For Prince Harry, it took only 3 short and very painful weeks for his whole world to come crashing down. This is not a happy story. It is not a story with a happily ever after ending. It is a story about a man who was very lonely and just wanted to find one person to love him for who he really was deep inside. He didn't want someone to love him because he was a prince or because he lived in a palace. He just wanted to be seen as a human being. Instead, he found out that the woman he married had a secret past. It was a past that he was never supposed to find. It was hidden behind layers of secrets and powerful friends. It all started with one tiny, normal detail in a photograph. It was a small thing that most people would never even notice, like a speck of dust on a table. But for Harry, that one detail changed everything he believed about his wife and their life together. He started to look back at the beginning of their story, and he realized that things were not what they seemed. He began to see that his life might have been a giant puzzle that someone else had put together while he was not even looking. This is the story of how Harry stopped being a prince in a fairy tale and started being a man who felt like he had been tricked by the people he trusted the most in the world. 3 weeks, that was all the time it took for the truth to come out. It was only 21 long and very painful days. The story you are about to hear is not a nice one. It is not a gentle story about kindness. It starts with a man who was lonely and just wanted a friend and a partner to love him. It ends with that same man finding out things about the past that were hidden away from him on purpose. He was never meant to see these things or ask these questions. Everything changed because of one tiny moment. It was a very small detail in a picture. It looked so ordinary and boring that almost anyone could have missed it, but it was the key to a very big door. This detail changed what Harry thought he knew about the woman he married and called his wife. Let's go back to the very start of the discovery. We need to go back so you can understand exactly what happened in his mind. Harry sat in the dark, quiet room and looked at his bright computer screen. He was looking at a photo from a beautiful place called Croatia. The photo had been all over the internet for 3 weeks. People everywhere were talking about the pictures of the big expensive boat called a yacht. But Harry could not stop looking at one specific picture. Something deep inside his heart felt very wrong. He kept looking at the image over and over again until his eyes hurt. He would zoom in on the picture until it was blurry and then he would zoom back out. He would stare at it for a very long time trying to see if he was imagining things. Then he would walk away and try to think about something else. But he always came back to stare at the screen again. It felt like the picture was alive and hiding a big dark secret from him. He could feel a bad sensation in his gut, like he was about to get bad news. Then one night while the house was silent, his eyes finally saw something new. He had never noticed it before because it was so small and tucked away. On the deck of the big yacht, pushed away to the side as if it didn't matter, was a small bag. It was a simple navy blue canvas bag. It was not a fancy bag with diamonds or bright colors. It was not loud or special, but it had gold letters printed on the front. Those letters hit him like a bucket of freezing ice water poured over his head. The letters on the bag said, Soho House. Harry felt his stomach do a giant flip. He felt a wave of sickness wash over him. This was not just a boat for rich people to have fun on. It was a boat for members of a very special and very private club. This was the Soho House yacht. It was the same elite club where Meghan had lived and spent almost all of her time for many years. It was a place where every room and every fancy dinner was about making deals and finding power. It was a place where people whispered secrets to each other. Suddenly, Harry did not think this was just a coincidence anymore. He felt like he was seeing the truth for the first time. Harry felt his chest get very tight and it became hard for him to take a deep breath. He felt like the walls of the room were closing in on him. He knew right then that he would not be able to sleep at all that night. He had to understand what that small blue bag really meant. He opened a new tab on his computer. His hands were shaking so much that he had trouble typing on the keys. He typed 3 names that he used to think were perfectly normal and safe. Soho House, then Marcus Anderson, and then Meghan Markle. He had seen these names together many times before, but they never looked suspicious or scary until this moment. The computer screen blinked as the search results started to load. When Harry saw what appeared on the screen, his blood felt like it turned to ice. He felt a cold chill run all the way down his spine to his toes. He always thought Marcus Anderson was just a fun, quirky friend of Meghan's from the city of Toronto. He thought Marcus was just a nice guy who liked clothes, parties, and being social. But the man described in the search results was not the man Harry thought he knew. Marcus was not just a person who went to parties to have a good time. He was the person who made the parties happen. He was the one in charge of the whole social scene. Harry started to dig even deeper into the internet. He found old blogs about rich people and interviews that had been deleted a long time ago. He found old magazines that were very hard to find. He had to act like a real detective to find these hidden pages that someone had tried to erase. All of the pages said the exact same thing. Marcus was not just a helper or a friend. He was a person who sold access. In the world of the rich, access is everything. This means he was the middleman who connected women who wanted to be famous with men who had a huge amount of money and power. He introduced young actresses to big movie producers who could give them jobs. He introduced models to people who had a lot of money to spend. He brought new people into the world of the elites. One person in an old article wrote that Marcus was the man who made sure the right people met each other at the right time. Every single story Harry found painted the same picture. Marcus did not just go to parties to dance or eat. He planned and engineered them like a complicated machine. Harry leaned back in his office chair and felt his heart beating very fast against his ribs. He felt like a total fool. Why did he never ask why Marcus was always there? Marcus had a seat in the very front row at their royal wedding. Marcus was always there in the background, whispering and watching. Harry started to think a very scary thought. What if Marcus was not just a friend? What if he was her handler? A handler is someone who guides another person and tells them exactly what to do to reach a secret goal. Harry clicked on another link that led to a collection of old photos. These photos were from the fancy social scene in Toronto from many years ago. For the next 6 hours, Harry sat in that chair without moving. Those 6 hours changed every single thing he believed about his life. He didn't want to believe any of the bad things he was seeing. He kept hoping that he was just making a big mistake or that he was being paranoid. He hoped the photos and the dates were just weird accidents that didn't mean anything. But that hope died completely when he picked up his phone. It was very late at night and the whole house was dark and still. Meghan was fast asleep in their bed. Harry called a person he had not talked to in many years. This person used to be a member of the Soho House in London a long time ago. This person knew that secret world better than anyone else. He knew the rules and the hidden secrets of the club. Harry knew this person would not tell him a lie. When the man finally picked up the phone, Harry's voice was so quiet it was almost a whisper. He asked, "I need to know the truth about Marcus Anderson." There was no sound on the other end for a long, long time. It was so quiet Harry could hear his own heart. Then the man on the other end gave a very big sad sigh. For the next 40 minutes, Harry listened to a truth he was never supposed to hear. The man explained that Marcus Anderson did not just have a group of friends. He ran something that people on the inside called a finishing school. But this was not a school to learn how to be polite or how to use the right spoon for soup. It was a school to learn how to get close to very powerful people. The friend told Harry that Marcus looks for women who are very ambitious and want to be successful. He finds women who want to climb to the very top of the world. Then he trains them like an expert. He teaches them how to wear the right designer clothes so they look like they have always been rich. He teaches them how to talk and how to move around very important people without looking like they are out of place. He brings them into the Soho House clubs all over the world. He gives them the phone numbers and the connections they need to move up in society. He introduces them to men who can open doors for them that would normally be locked. He is very smart and plans every move like a game of chess. Harry sat in his chair in frozen silence. He couldn't even move his hands. The man said Marcus has special access to calendars and private lists of who will be at every big event. He knows exactly where kings, princes, and billionaires will be. He uses that secret information to create chances for his students to meet them. Harry stared at the wall. Everything was finally starting to make sense in a way that hurt. Marcus was at polo matches in 2013. He was at charity events in 2014. These were all places where Harry had been too. Marcus was always close by watching and making sure things happened. And Meghan had been Marcus's star student long before she ever met Harry. Then the friend said something that made Harry's stomach feel like it dropped to the floor. He said Marcus doesn't just introduce people, Harry, he positions them. This means he puts people in the right spot at the perfect time on purpose to get what he wants. Harry felt very sick to his stomach. Now that he knew what Marcus really did for a living, a new and scary question popped into his head. How did Meghan pay for all of this expensive stuff? Before she met him, she was always flying across the ocean to London and Europe. She wore very expensive clothes that cost thousands of dollars. She was a member of the Soho House in many different cities at the same time. She stayed in hotels that cost more for one night than most people make in a month. She was always on those expensive yachts. She was at every fancy party that Marcus planned. Harry knew exactly how much money she made as an actress on her TV show. It was a good job, but it was not enough money to pay for that kind of life. It did not add up at all. It was like trying to say 2 + 2 = 100. It was impossible. So Harry called someone else he knew. This person had a connection to the Soho House in Toronto. What Harry learned next made his hands feel cold as ice. Meghan did not pay for her club membership. It was comped, which means it was totally free. For 5 whole years, she never paid a single penny to be a member of the club. Harry asked who was paying for her. The person on the phone was scared to say at first. There was a very long pause. Finally, the man said that Marcus has ways to make sure certain women get in for free. They used secret corporate accounts and approvals where no one is allowed to ask questions. Someone had been investing a lot of money in Meghan. Someone was paying for her to become a famous global socialite. Someone paid for her change from a regular actress into a woman who looked like she belonged with the most powerful people on earth. Harry took a pen and a piece of paper and started to write down all the costs. He wrote down the flights to New York, London, and Spain. He wrote down the dresses for every single party. He wrote down the money for the hair, the makeup, and the fancy lifestyle. The total amount of money was a huge shock to him. It was at least $70,000 every single year. Meghan's regular job could not have paid for even half of that. Someone else was definitely paying for her to climb the social ladder to get to him. Once Harry saw where the money trail led, he could not unsee it. It was like a map that showed exactly how she got to him. By this time, Harry felt like his whole life had been rewritten by a stranger. It was like someone had taken the book of his life and changed all the words while he was sleeping. But the next thing he found was the worst thing of all. One morning, he went into his private office and opened a heavy drawer. He pulled out the official list of guests from his wedding day. There were 600 names on that list. His team and Meghan's team had organized them into neat groups. Harry had never looked closely at Meghan's side of the list before because he had trusted her with his whole heart. But now he looked with his new detective eyes, and what he saw broke his spirit. He saw Marcus Anderson's name in the very front row. He saw Jessica Mulroney, who was a regular at the Soho House. He saw Misha Nanu, the woman who said she was the one who set them up on a blind date. She was also a big member of the Soho House. He saw Serena Williams, another member. He saw so many people who had been photographed with Meghan at the club years before Harry ever met her. Harry took a bright yellow highlighter pen and started to mark the names. Out of the 200 people on Meghan's side of the wedding, more than 60 of them were directly connected to the Soho House world. These people were not her old childhood friends. They were not her family members. They were not even people she worked with on her TV show. They were her network. They were the group of people who watched her climb the system that Marcus had built for her. Then Harry saw a photo from the wedding party. It showed Marcus standing with 4 of the big bosses from Soho House. They were all holding champagne and smiling. They didn't look like guests at a wedding. They looked like people who had just finished a long, hard job and won. Harry realized something he wished he could forget forever. His wedding was not just a celebration of 2 people in love. It was a giant meeting for the network that had built her. It was a gathering of all the people who had worked together to bring her to him. Harry could not sleep anymore. He was not eating much food either. He spent all of his time searching for more information on his computer. He was checking dates, names, and photos. He was trying to breathe normally, but he felt a heavy weight of panic sitting on his chest every second. There was one last thing he had not looked at yet. It was something he had been avoiding for a long time because it made him feel guilty. It was his old phone messages. He remembered that his brother William had left him some messages a long time ago, right before Harry got engaged. Harry had been very angry at William back then, so he had never even listened to the messages. His hands were shaking as he scrolled through the old